Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop on a Thursday. We got a big show for you. Huss going to be popping by here right away as well. And Pat from Coolbet, Pete Greggy on Twitter or X, he's going to pop in today as well. So we'll have our first three-man show, unless, of course, the extra camera completely shuts down the entire system. Well, one that gives me the death stare. We'll see what happens. Should handle it, no problem. But, yeah, Huss and Pat Gregory's going to pop by. About partway through the show today, we got a bunch of exclusives we're going to get to. If you are listening right now on EdmontonSportsTalk.com and our Listen Live function, hopefully you're enjoying our 7 straight hours of content live every single day from 6 until 1. We think we're turning out some pretty good stuff, and hopefully it's working for you on your end. If you're watching right now on YouTube, thank you very much for joining the Lock Shop. Like we said, Lock Shop is put in place as like a betting program, and there's a lot of it. But now that we've gone like an expanded role 5 days a week, there's a lot more time for us to just kind of talk about everything that's going on in sports, including the Toronto Blue Jays sucking the big one. So we might get into that with Huss when he pops by this morning as well. And yeah, you can text us 780-218-9999, and we can see you in the YouTube chat. What are you on tonight? What are you on tonight? Let us know. 780-218-9999. The line in the Thursday nighter has moved. It is now at 6 points. The Eagles, it was at 7 a couple of days ago. It's now at 6 points. They're 6-point favorites at home. We're going to set up the week in the Canadian Football League as well. We'll give you our best bets for all 4 games there. We've already got some exclusives online for this week. I think we might dive into our little partner parlay as well. Pat might help us with that this week. So lots to get to on the Lock Shop today. And like I said, one more time, you can get in at 780-218-9999 or on the YouTube chat, as well as we tried to deliver some winners. Huge shout out to Snell for my Lock Shop play of the day yesterday. The Padres as a plus money underdog, getting by the Dodgers last night, and that was exciting. Let's bring in Huss today. Is he ready to go? We got Huss, man. Huss, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Very well, Dusty. Fired up for this Thursday nighter and CFL picks. It's all coming together. You know, having Monday Night Football back, it allows. Tuesday is essentially spent on the waiver wire.
Yep.
Wednesday, do whatever you need to do, get your picks and set your lineups, and we are right back into it tonight. So, yeah, and it'll be nice to focus on football as opposed to that disaster of a baseball team.
Dude, what is happening with the Toronto Blue Jays? Huge series. Matty, did you panic because I said, what is happening? Matt's here. He's so worried about the technical thing. I said, oh, my God, what is happening? And he's like, what? What's going on? I said, don't worry. We're just talking about the disaster that is the Toronto Blue Jays. And, buddy, I mean, they outscored 26-7 in these 3 games, and the damage isn't done yet. They got to play them again today. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic.
Well, Jake dropped those numbers yesterday on the show. If they lost last night, they were looking at best case scenario to have just above a 50% chance of making the playoffs if they win tonight. If they lose tonight, sub 40%. Oof. And of course, Seattle won last night. We had a Winnipeg Sports Talk event last night over at the Little Brown Jug Brewery. Yeah, it was awesome. It was sold out, huge crowd, but I was very thankful that event was scheduled for last night. Well, there was pros and cons. The bad news was we didn't realize we were scheduling it the same night as the 50 Cent concert down at Canada Life Center. So we were not able to take that in. I would have liked to, hit the candy shop, go in the club, all that. But the one positive part about it was that I was busy doing the trivia and did not have to watch that game last night. We were getting updates through it. I'm like 4-0, ugly. And then I heard 10-0, and I'm like, oh my God. This is the most puzzling team I can remember, Dusty, in a long, long time. And I think we might just I'm going to be cooling it on any Jays wagers for the next little while.
Imagine the Jays being sunk, with all the question marks about pitching and stuff coming into the year, and they're actually getting really good pitching. The Jays being sunk because they don't have the bats to get the job done just blows my mind, buddy.
It's almost inconceivable. I mean, we were thinking about, and the fact that the pitching's been as good as it has for the most part all season long without Alek Manoah. But to see the season that Vladdy's having, I mean, the struggles that Bo's having at the plate right now, I mean, a number of the other guys, sometimes some questionable lineup decisions from Schneider. It's not cooking right now. All that being said, I still do believe that there's enough talent in that room that if they could just get a little bit of momentum and get in, they're going to be a really tough out if they play well. But I mean, you never know what you're getting from this team when frankly, you know what you're getting right now, and that's a lifeless baseball team. But if they can turn the corner at some point before the end of the season and somehow get in, they've got enough in that clubhouse to be a really, really tough out. But they can't beat good teams. I mean, they basically come up small in every big situation right now. It is depressing for Blue Jays fans coast to coast right now.
Big Uke in the YouTube chat today says the boos throughout the game were more than well-deserved. The entire lineup has lost batting confidence. Snyder is the only one that seems to be feeling it right now. So, yeah, it's extremely disappointing. This series is a major, major buzzkill. We'll see if they can salvage something here. But you are right. Football has allowed us to kind of move past that. And should we start with the Canadian Football League, and then we can kind of transition into the Thursday nighter, and then bring in Pat around 11:30 today, 12:30 Winnipeg time. I think that's the way to go.
I think that'll be perfect. Hey, just before we make the picks, I got to ask you, because I mean, listen, we've been talking, whether it be on the Lock Shop, on Winnipeg Sports Talk, when we've jumped on with you on EST about this Elks season, and it could not have been much worse. At 0-9 with the embarrassing way that they'd found ways to lose. We talked about the home winning streak. It's happening right now. They're going into Saskatchewan. Has there been a notable uptick, at least, in just the vibe around Edmonton when it comes to the team? Because it couldn't have been much worse early on in the season.
Yeah, it's literally impossible to be worse than it was, with the home losing streak hitting 19, 20, 21, 22. Like, it couldn't. I'm actually a little surprised by how quickly they've rebounded. Like, they announced 32,000 at the last home game. Obviously, it's the Labor Day rebound. We talked about it. A lot of things aligned. It was a perfect timing on a beautiful day against Calgary. They'd won 2 of their last 3. I honestly believe bringing Lawlisher back as an interim president has helped win some people over as well. And they announced 32. You know, a lot of times you're like, oh, they announced 32, but there's 21 there. By all accounts, man, that was a 30,000 person crowd for a team that has at that time 2 wins on the season. So I was very concerned with how bad it had gotten, how quickly they could turn it around, but you throw in an extremely talented and entertaining quarterback, you switch the offensive coordinator, you remove a president that had burned some bridges in the community, and you start to win some football games, and yada, 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 30,000 back at Commonwealth, which I think is very encouraging, and it's going to be tough the rest of the way. Like, in reality, they've got 5 games left. One's against BC, one's against Winnipeg, one's against Toronto. They're not winning out here to make the playoffs. Could they somehow miraculously, like, if they win 3 of those 5, that means they have to pull off an upset of one of those 3 teams. That'd be a great finish to the year. But there's no miraculous playoff spot coming, I don't think, here, just because their schedule is so difficult. But the support seems to be there. Like, if they go out, then I'll be there tomorrow to call that game at Mosaic. If they go down to Regina and beat the Riders after the Riders beat the Lions and the Bombers at home, I think that's another thing that you can build on for next year.
Well, I mean, speaking of that game tomorrow night, it is sort of funny that, I mean, the Riders are only laying 2.5 at home to the Elks, who a few weeks ago were an 0-9 team, and we were wondering whether they would ever win another football game. They got some momentum right now, and I imagine there was a lot of people that said about this football team, and I think it has something to do with the respect that Chris Jones has earned from his previous spots, that this team was close. And when they were able to, when they turned the corner at some point, it was going to come together quickly. And it sort of seems like it has so far.
Yeah, and we'll see what that means for Chris Jones' future moving forward. I know some people are still like, doesn't matter, it's so far Chris Jones at the end of the year. But if they win 3 of their next 5 and finish with 6 wins, that's 2 wins better than last year, and all of them came once you finally transitioned to this quarterback that's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I think there'd be something to build on. Chaz in the chat there says he needs the Elks to win out to hit the over 7.5 win total on his futures bet. So that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. You can blame the first half of the season and Stephen McAdoo for that bet not cashing. Do we want to start? Well, we got the 2 games tomorrow. I mean, let's start with this Edmonton Riders game because we're already on it here, Huss. You mentioned the 2.5 number. Like, Riders have been good at home with Jake Dolegala at quarterback. There's no doubt about it. 2 really impressive victories, but they're coming off a spanking at IG Field, which I think is one of those games you just toss out. Where are you at on this 2.5?
You know what? I would love to take the Elks. And it is, listen, if it was 3.5 or 4, I would think long and hard about it. But at 2.5 right now, it is hard not to go with Saskatchewan. They got just absolutely humiliated last week. It was a complete embarrassment, and I know people are losing their minds in Rider Nation about it. But, I mean, they just beat the Bombers in a hell of a game the week before. And the one thing that I have hesitancy about this is when you think about those games that these two teams played earlier in the season when the Elks couldn't do anything right, Saskatchewan barely beat Edmonton on both of those occasions. Yeah. Like, I do think that this should be a close game. Right now you're getting plus money on the Elks at 2.5. And I totally could see a script where it's like those first couple games where it comes right down to it. But I am going to lean on the Riders to get it together, come up with a big home performance and win. And I guess I'll lay the 2.5 right now. This is a tough pick, though, because I could absolutely see the Elks going in and getting a little bit of revenge for a couple of games that I know they feel they should have won earlier this year.
And that's why I'm going to get on Edmonton here at plus 2.5. I mean, you laid it out. They were very, very close, and that's when they were a train wreck. They're not a train wreck anymore. Now, I also think the Riders are a better team with Dolegala at quarterback than they were with Mason Fine at quarterback. So that might even things out here a little bit. We'll see how Dolegala attacks this inexperienced secondary that Edmonton's rolling out. They have 3 rookies in their secondary, right? And the Riders, in a somewhat surprising turn this year, they had Jarrell Walker. They brought in Winicky. You were expecting these guys to be the guys. Winicky's been hurt. Walker's gone. But Emelis has had a phenomenal season. Bain has had a great year getting more opportunity than he had in Calgary. And Tevin Jones has been sensational as well. So can Dolegala take advantage of those receivers against a young secondary? The other thing that that helps me have confidence in this plus 2.5 pick, the Riders can't stop anything defensively. Like, they've got some good pieces, but they are 9th in the league in points against. They're surrendering like 28, 29 points per game this season. Now you're going to mix in Trey Ford, a quarterback that you haven't seen yet this year, causing some issues for you with his legs. I think there's a few reasons here that Edmonton can get it done. What is it? Plus 125 on the money line if you like him to win outright. That might even be where I would go, but I'll take the plus 2.5 at plus 103 as my official pick.
Well, it should be a fun game. We'll look forward to hearing your call tomorrow night on TSN for that one. What about the early game? Rematch. Argos and Montreal. Back in Montreal after an absolute thrashing last week in Toronto to the tune of, 39-10?
Yeah. So what, the 6.5? 6.5. I think I learned my lesson last week. I'm not betting against the Argos, whatever the spread is, against teams that aren't named BC and aren't named Winnipeg. And even BC. I mean, we saw what happened to them earlier this year. So based on my own refusal to bet against these guys, I'm going to get on the Argos minus 6.5 here on the road. The Argos win football game. Look, here's their last. I'll just take a quick whip through here. They beat the Alouettes by 29. They beat the Ticats by 13. They beat the Stampeders by 8. They beat the Red Blacks by 13. They beat the Riders by 18. They beat the Ticats by 16. They beat the Alouettes by 8. Like, they have won every single game this season by more than 6.5 points. So I'm going to continue on that trend here and take the Argos minus 6.5.
I'm just going to basically say ditto on everything you just said. I have been burned a couple times on saying, well, Toronto's really good, but this game should be close. I have no faith in any of the teams in the East to be able to hang with the Toronto Argonauts right now. And listen, I'm with you. I kind of thought that this number would be bigger. And when you look at the way that they've been putting up points, and the defense has been pretty good. Like, is Montreal better than, the Red Blacks, the Ticats, Elks, Stamps?
I thought they were earlier in the year. I'm not sure now. So,
well, put it this way. They're not trending towards the Argos, I guess is the point that I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
there's a huge gap in this. And I mean, the way they just, will it be as lopsided as it was last week? No. But I mean, if we're only laying 6.5 for Toronto, who's doing this, I mean, listen, I guess maybe they're due for a little bit of a slip up, and it's tough to do what they did to a team 2 weeks in a row. But I mean, Argos by a touchdown. They seem to be in another class than most of these other teams that they're playing until they get BC and until they get Winnipeg. So at this point, I'm not taking their opponents.
I didn't realize that they've won every game by at least a touchdown this year. Like, when you're 10-1 and nobody's kept it within a touchdown, that's pretty. I mean, they've lost the one game, obviously, but they lost Chad Kelly in that game. They've not lost when Chad Kelly starts and finishes a game. So thank you for the 6.5 over at Coolbet, and we'll move along. Bombers, Ticats. We also have a 6.5 here number. It's also the Bombers on the road. I think you have to view the Ticats a little bit differently than where the Alouettes are at right now. At least Hamilton has had some positive things. The Alouettes have lost 3 games in a row here. 6.5 points on the road for the Bombers, Huss. Where does Winnipeg Huss come out on this?
Well, listen, I mean, obviously the Bombers are on a high right now, coming off that Banjo Bowl smashing of the Riders. They are certainly in another class than the Hamilton Tiger Cats right now. But there's a couple things that give me pause, I guess, before just immediately smashing the Bombers minus 6.5. Number one is the Bombers a couple times this year have been less than locked in, shall we say, when playing some of the lesser opposition in the league. We think about, they were tied against the Elks at halftime when they played here. They had a couple of really rough starts. The start in Edmonton, they were down 22-0. That was a perfect example. That was a huge game for the team and the organization last weekend. And I do think it will be a challenge to be at that level, the focus, the intensity, and really the drive to pound the team the way they did. I'll say this, though. They've got the bye week the following week, and then they've got the Argos in Winnipeg on the 29th of September. Everyone around here is looking forward to that game. I almost think that because of what's happened earlier this year to the Bombers when they have had sort of just mental lapses, if you will, I think that almost helps them in this case as somewhat of a cautionary tale to go out, get the job done with authority, and then move on, enjoy a bye week, and get ready for the biggest game of the year. I do have a bit of trepidation doing this, but I'm going to lay the 6.5 on the road with the Bombers in this case. And hopefully they can sort of pick up where they left off, put themselves in a great situation to be comfortable in the third and the fourth quarters and move on. But there has been some signs where you would think, geez, because on paper, I mean, this is a mismatch, Dusty.
Yeah. No, I think you laid out exactly what I was thinking when it comes to this game. And there's a lot of things that would point towards bit of a letdown spot for the Bombers here. But I think what O'Shea has established in Winnipeg is that they're not one of those teams that really has let down spots. Yeah, they've lost games this year. A couple have been in overtime, whatever. But I think with him, and then the fact that Zach was so pissed off after the loss to the Riders that he actually stepped up and said a few things in the dressing room, and Dalton Schoen was like, he doesn't usually do this. When he does it, we listen. I think that was that speech would have been 10, 11 days ago. I mean, that's still fresh. I think this team will be focused against a weaker Hamilton team to finish the job. And then, like you said, then you get into a bye, you prep for just a massive game against the Argos, which I cannot wait to watch. I think that's going to be a phenomenal football game. So like you...
Are you doing that game?
I'm not doing that game. I'm on a different game that week. I can't remember which game I'm on that week, but I think Rod's rolling in for that one. I can't remember. I wish I was doing that game, but I'm doing a different one.
We're getting into busy CFL days like this weekend where you got 2 games on Friday.
Yeah, now it's tough to really kind of do 2 in a weekend. I think I've got 2 in a weekend, like one more time, and it's like a Calgary Edmonton sort of Friday and Calgary drive down to Edmonton, or drive back up to Edmonton. So yeah, I'll get on Winnipeg here minus the 6.5. No disrespect to Hamilton because they've obviously been trending in the right direction a little bit as of late, but I just don't think the Bombers come out and go through the motions here with a bye week looming. Maybe they prove us wrong. Maybe this is one of the things this year you're like, remember that when they really weren't focused against the Ticats. But I think I'm going to stick with Winnipeg for now.
I have a hard time giving them too much credit for, beating Ottawa right now. Both of those teams, I think, are in a bad spot. And as I said, much like Montreal taking on Toronto, to me, these teams are just in two different classes. The Bombers know the task at hand. I think they go out and get the job done. So, not often you see me laying 6.5 with 2 road favorites, but to be honest, I can make an argument that both of these numbers should be bigger. And by the way, for the Bombers, I think they also remember last season going to Ivor Wynne, and I'm not.
That's a good point.
Field.
Yeah, Tim Hortons.
And that was when Dane Evans, who was having a terrible season, turned into the second coming of Doug Flutie for a game, and the Ticats put up 48 on the Bombers. That was. And again, that was just one of those aberrations in the middle of a season that occasionally happens. But I think the Bombers have had those already, and they will have the focus getting ready for this one into the bye and then the Argos.
All right, and then the biggest line of the week, the BC Lions, 9.5-point favorites at home against the Ottawa Redblacks. BC coming off a bye here, Huss, as well. Does this thing get ugly in Vancouver?
Well, listen, I am so gun shy with taking the BC Lions as a big. It was a double
because of the Hamilton game.
Yeah. Yes, because of the Hamilton game.
I think I'm going to take them because of the Hamilton game.
Well,
you should be able to build off that, right? Like to say, let's not have this happen again. We already had one of these weaker sisters from the East come on out here and have this happen. So,
well, we know where the partner parlay is trending right now. We're just going to take the good teams, the 3 really good teams in the Canadian Football League. That was such a crazy game considering where BC was and where Hamilton was for that to happen. You wonder whether it can happen again. But the fact that they're coming off the bye, and this is important. I mean, they cannot give any games away right now, Dusty. I mean, if they want to be in the mix, if they want that game on October 6th to matter, they've got to be within a game of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And at this current rate, they cannot afford to lose to the Ottawa Redblacks. And listen, I was a little higher on Ottawa earlier on. Obviously, losing Mazzoli kind of turned everything around. And Crumb's had his moments. But again, this is going to kind of sound like a broken record, much like the Argos and Alouettes and much like the Bombers and Ticats. These two teams are in just complete different stratospheres. 9.5 is a lot, but it's not a lot, not as much as 10, which it was earlier on. So let's do it. If they screw us again on the partner parlay, because I got a pretty good feeling about these other ones. But a little bit chalky. We're laying a bunch of points, but are we just staring the Argos, Bombers, and Lions in the face for the partner parlay?
Look, let's not overthink it this week. Let's take the 3 best teams in the league against maybe right now the 3 worst teams in the league. So,
and I'll tell you what, like right now, the Argos number is -6.5 at -114.
Yeah.
Bombers is -110 at -6.5.
It's going to be a nice number here.
And the Lions is -9.5 at -109. I mean, when we plug it in, it's +587. So we're probably looking at 6.25 or maybe even more by the time the boys take it to the people that needs to be taken to get that sucker lit up.
A couple of things. First of all, if you're listening and you want to chime in on any of the CFL action or what your best bet is tonight for the Thursday nighter, 780-218-9999, or you can chime in on the YouTube chat as well. I just put it together just to play super, super duper chalky. Argos, Bombers, Lions just to win, +131. So +131 for all 3 of them to win. I also have this little 4-gamer that I put together. I hit a CFL NFL. I was telling you about this when I saw you last week. I hit a CFL NFL parlay last week. I've already bet this, and I got the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Argos, and the Lions at +167 just to win. Just a money line 4-gamer. Cowboys beat the Jets. Eagles beat the Vikings tonight. Argos get by the Alouettes, and BC beats Ottawa. That's +167 if anybody wants to hop in on that one as well. Pat Gregoire is going to join us. He's going to pop by. You can find him on Twitter at PGreggy. We're just going to get him loaded into the system here once he connects. Huss, we've already got some exclusives done for this game tonight, don't we? Then you put together an exclusive yesterday, so did I, right? Maddie, we don't have Huss on the audio. Huss, did
Sorry,
you mute?
that was
that
me.
was him.
That
That
was
was him.
me.
He muted.
Well, yeah, let's get to those in just a second. But quickly, are you surprised that this line's moved the way that it has towards the Vikings?
I'm surprised, but I'm also saying thank you. Keep going. Like, let's get this thing down to 5.5 so we can not have to worry about the 6. Why is this happening? I don't understand. Like, what's going on here?
Well, Philly looked not really ready for the season last week against the Patriots, and you can say that they were very fortunate to come out of that with a win. That being said, the link is going to be nuts tonight.
Yes, it is.
The Vikings got murdered by the Eagles in this similar situation in prime time. I think it was in week 2 last week as well.
I think I looked at it yesterday. It was like 26-7 or something like that.
Yeah, and it could have been way worse. Yeah. I think Sirianni's going to have this team ready to go. I mean, listen, it's their first time playing at home since, they won the NFC Championship and obviously lost in the Super Bowl. And I think this is a big statement game for the Eagles right now. I'm not sure the Vikings can stop them. I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts look a lot more like the 2022 Jalen Hurts than the guy that, was sort of mediocre last week against a good Patriots defense. And listen, if Baker Mayfield, although it's not like Baker Mayfield tore the Vikings up. I mean, I don't even know if they had a first down for the first 20 minutes of the game. But the bottom line was when the game, as the things went on, Baker was connecting. And I mean, that Eagles offense is far, far more potent than what the Bucs have right now. I thought the line made sense at 7. I am surprised that it's going the way that it is, but I'm on Philly. I am on Philly in this game. And I guess we can talk a little bit about the total right now, because I do wonder what the night Kirk Cousins is going to have. Listen, I think that offensive line better be ready for the challenge.
Could be trouble.
Dude, what is it? Jalen Carter, the guy they took out of Georgia, who fell to 9th because of many off-field indiscretions.
Yeah, he was a guy that they could have, if there wasn't the off-field indiscretions, he would have been top 3 pick, right?
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, probably number 1 if you were just picking by talent. I know quarterbacks always, it's so important you go over, but I mean, he was an absolute terror in week 1 against Mac Jones. Kirk Cousins is going to need somebody looking over him tonight, I think. So I jumped on Philly when I saw the line move from 7 to 7 to 6.5. They have to reload right now. And it's interesting. It was minus 104 on each side. It's now minus 102 for the Vikings at +6, minus 106 for the Eagles at -6. So very, very nice number right now at Coolbet. But I'm going to throw that -6 down. I'm not sure this game gets over, though, because I'm not sure how much time the Vikings are going to spend in the Philadelphia.
Well, the line was 49.5 like 30 minutes ago. It's at 49 right now, so it's come down a little bit. This entire thing revolves around, can Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson have a huge game? I mean, that's how this game gets over, right? Like, Philly's going to get theirs. Can Minnesota keep pace enough to push this thing on the over? And I'm hesitant to do that. I don't know. Like last year, they scored 7 points. Can they get 20 this year? I'm not too sure I'd have faith in them to do that right now.
And we're gonna get to this because I have it in my exclusive that's up in the Coolbet exclusives. But I think I'm actually gonna lean towards the Philly team total. Right now, it's 27.5. If you want to get over 27, it's minus 128. 27.5 is really the number at minus 108. And if you want over 28, it's even money. I think they push 30 points tonight. I mean, I'm high on A.J. Brown for tonight's game, and I'm definitely high for Jalen Hurts. So I'm not sure that the Vikes, get to 20. or get to 17. So I think for the game total, I go under the 49.
Over
but I
on the
think
team
for the
total.
team
Yeah.
total, I'm going to go over for Philly.
In the YouTube chat, and Pat's going to join us here right away. He's ready to go. In the YouTube chat, Pierre says, Eagles win, Browns 75 yards, Hurts more than 250 passing yards, plus 260. Let us know what bets you are building as well. Everything we talk about is obviously available over at Coolbet, and Pat joins us. Pat Gregoire joins us. Hey, Patty, welcome to the New Look Lock Shop, buddy, here at Edmonton Sports Talk. How you doing, man?
Patty muted? I can't hear him.
Patty, is your mic muted?
Okay, now this actually does call for ironic. Patty, help us out here, buddy.
He's looking. He's trying to figure it out. I mean, if you're working, Patty should be working. That's what I'm a little confused by. We'll see.
That's your theory?
That's my theory. You're both coming in through the same program in the same window. I mean, it should probably be working, but yeah, we still can't hear him. Matty, the only thing I can think of is that he was maybe muted on his own side. No, he's not.
Either that or maybe just jump out and jump back in. That's
Pat,
whenever
that might work.
It's just like, oh, turn it off and turn it on again. See what happens.
Nothing wrong with the jump out and jump back in. We'll see if he can reconnect there. But
you know what? While we wait to get Patty on, why don't we just hit these two exclusives that we've got?
Go ahead, buddy.
Game that's up there. So I've got one. It's plus 500, and it has the Eagles minus 6.5, Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, and AJ Brown anytime touchdown, and the Eagles team total at over 26.5. So we've got that down a point right now. So the Eagles to score 27 or more, TDs from Hurts, TDs from Brown, and the Eagles to cover. And that's in at plus 500 right now.
And I've got plus 220. I've got Hurts, 275 plus passing yards. Addison, 25 plus receiving yards. The Eagles with 3 team TDs or more, and the Eagles to win, and that is plus 220. Do we have Pat now? Do we have the sound on Pat?
I hope so.
Oh, the old reconnect. The old reconnect gets her done.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Yeah.
And it's the fail safe, right?
Give it a shot.
I was going to say the new digs look great. You guys sound great. And then I can't speak. So things still are the same, just like the old show. But you guys went over your exclusives. I love both of them. I figure why not keep on the theme? Let me read out my exclusive that I think I'm going to be banging out every single primetime game. It's Patty's primetime parlay.
Oh,
and there's going to be one bet in here.
Name,
I think,
man. Love the name.
There's going to be a bet in here. I think that is going to be a staple, as you guys probably know what it is.
Oh yeah.
So it starts with over 3.5 field goals
every time.
Jalen Hurts over 50 rushing yards, and TJ Hawkinson 5+ receptions. That's at plus 650. When I was going to say
that's a big number then. Yeah.
I was thinking it was going to be closer to like maybe 500, 450, but the fellows at Coolbet in the lab put a really nice number together for that one. My best bet was that Hawkinson over 4.5. Yesterday, I got it at minus 135. It's all the way up to minus 179.
Holy smokes.
And I was kind of surprised to see the number at 4.5, to be honest. That's why I jumped on it so early. Saw last week he had 8 receptions on, I think it was 9 or 10 targets. And just looking into some of the numbers, since he became a Viking last year, he's caught at least 5 passes in 9 of his 11 full games. You factor that in, but you also factor in the fact that the Eagles' elite pass rush, which you guys have already talked about, is going to put Kirk Cousins in a world of hurt. I think he's going to have to get the ball up quick. I think a lot of those mid-range shots up the middle of the field to Hawkinson is going to work. And I think that's the comfort blanket that Cousins had last year. And I think it's going to be a big part here today. That's why I love over 4.5. Am I telling you to bet it at minus 180? Absolutely not. But if you're looking through the Coolbet bet builder, certainly that's something that I would add on to your bet builders, or even buy an extra reception. I think he gets over 5. I could see 6. I could see 7. Do I see another 8 spot that we saw last week like he did against the Bucks? Probably not.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
But five receptions for him seems almost automatic since he's joined sides here with Kirk Cousins.
Well, and you got to think about the way defenses are playing Minnesota right now. Take your 2 best guys, put them on Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy, pay attention to Jordan Addison. And you know what? You want to throw it short over the middle all night long? They'll probably give you that. And that's probably all Kirk Cousins is going to have other than maybe quick dump offs to Madison. So I can't disagree with that. I love the fact that the field goal prop is in there as well. I was going to text you guys while we were watching the Monday Nighter, but there was too much insanity going on with that Jets comeback. Of course, the field goal prop hit. It's 1-0 in prime time so far this year. It's plus 120 tonight. And it's funny. I mean, I kind of think the Vikes, are going to probably look like I could see them finishing with 6 points in this game, like getting in there and settling for a couple field goals. But Patty, I was thinking about the field goal prop, and it was a good number. I think it was like plus 140 or something for the Monday Nighter. And I was looking ahead to the schedule. I'm like, what's the number going to be on the over 3.5 field goals for the Monday Nighter between the Steelers and Browns next week? Is it going to be the first ever minus number for the over 3.5 field goal prop?
Yeah, we might have to move that or get an alternate line of 4.5.
I was going to say that might have to be a 4.5.
Best.
Yeah.
For the Patty prime time parlay, that's going to have over 3.5. Maybe I'll get a little ballsy and go over 4.5. But let's stick with this game here, fellas. Another one of my best bets. We've already talked about the elite pass rush and that defensive line for the Eagles. I know it's a big number at 5.5 sacks, but it's at plus money. The Eagles last year, they averaged 4.9 sacks per game. The Vikings averaged 2.3. Not a math guy, but that certainly would get the job done here. But with that being said, the Vikings, I don't know if they're going to be able to get to Jalen Hurts, but we've seen in Jalen Hurts' career, sometimes he holds onto the ball a little bit too long or tries to extend plays and gets taken down in the backfield. It's a bit of a prayer, but at plus money and with how good this Eagles front is and how immobile Kirk Cousins is, I'm taking a chance here at over 5.5 at plus money.
I'm in.
Done. That was easy.
Hey, pull his arm. Pull his arm, Patty.
I was looking. I would love. Oh, and we do have the. By the way, total sacks as we get to this. This could be the long night. Plus 100 on over 5.5.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah,
it's going to be way more on the Cousins side than it will be on the Jalen Hurts side.
I could honestly see the Eagles hitting that by themselves. To be honest, like it's. You guys talked about it. It is elite, and I think it's gotten even better than it was last year. I think this is going to be a long night for Kirk Cousins. Mind you, with that being said, earlier on this week when the number was at 7.5, I was maybe debating taking the Vikings, but now that it's moved to minus 6.5, I'm not touching a side. But I have no idea how the Vikings can keep this within a touchdown here. I really don't.
Do we want to take a quick look before I got to run to Sunday and get a little head start on the partner parlay as long as Patty's here right now, Dusty?
Yeah, we might as well, buddy. What's jumping off the page for you guys? What are you looking at?
Well, there's one game that I liked already that I think I like even more because of the line movement, and that's Green Bay. Green Bay is in Atlanta. They were 1.5 favorites. I think they were 1.5. They're now getting 1.5. Like the Packers are plus 100 on the money line. I mean, I guess if we're doing the partner parlay and doing spreads, I'll take the 1.5 points, but I don't mind the Packers at even money to win this game. I mean, I think their defense is legit, and I got real questions about the Atlanta offense, the Atlanta passing offense, and I think we're going to be able to just tee off and focus on Bijan Robinson and focus on Algier, which sucks if you've got Drake London or Pitts in your fantasy.
Another tough week coming for those two guys. Yeah.
Those guys, I think those guys are riding the bench for most of the year. If you can get something for them, I would do it. But I'm actually in on Green Bay in this game. I thought Jordan Love looked awesome. And I don't think Atlanta is much better than the Chicago Bears. I guess we'll give them the credit for being a bit more, but that game wasn't even close. They did it on the road. I think they go into Mercedes-Benz and win this football game.
I like it.
I really like that one. I really like that one.
It was on my short list. It was on my short list for best bets tomorrow for sure, 100%. Like I can see why you just laid that case out, Pat. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, what's more likely here? What we saw from Atlanta last week, and the fact that Desmond Ridder is going to have problems throwing the ball. They do have a nice run game, or the fact that looks like Green Bay's still a pretty darn good football team, and they have a quarterback that is at least capable of keeping that going, right? So for them to be a dog in this situation, I think Huss kind of nailed it here. I like that a lot.
I think it's a big overreaction to what we saw from the Falcons. I think they're improved. I think they're a better football team than we've seen in the last couple of years. But you mentioned Desmond Ridder. He is as game management as it gets. You're basically teams are going to try to force him to make plays with his arms, and played on a solid Cincinnati team in college, and he still was kind of that player as well. He was just a player that didn't make big plays down the field. I don't think he's going to be doing the same. Load the box and force them to use your arm. And on the flip side of the Packers, do I think Jordan Love is the second coming of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre? Probably not, but I think he's going to be capable enough to have this as a quality football team over the next couple of years. And I think the fact that they're underdogs really doesn't make any sense to me. I like this play a lot.
Who would you rather have right now, Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers?
With the Achilles, or
would you rather have one Achilles, Aaron Rodgers, or Jordan Love at quarterback? Pat, what do you like for this partner parlay, buddy? Where do you want to go here?
There's two. So I'll start with the one, and maybe you guys can talk me into or out of one or the other. Chargers -3 on the road against Tennessee. I think the Chargers, again, they're a weird team for me over the last couple seasons.
-1.5 right now, by the way.
Okay, well, I mean, even better.
It's -1.5 right now? Jeez, yes. I have this page reloaded like 15 minutes ago.
I'm staring at it right in the face.
Okay,
-1.5, -110.
Okay, that makes my decision even easier because I don't understand how that's the number. They're a team that, again, I have a hard read on, but when it comes to the Titans, I think that's, again, an overreaction from last week, but they looked awful last week. Tannehill is brutal. This team, I think there's a lot of hype just because of that division, and it's the Jaguars division to win. Maybe there's a chance they get in the wild card. The great coach, but for me, I don't know. When I look at the Chargers here, I think this is a big bounce back. They put up 1 billion points against Miami. Yeah, the defense isn't great, but that Titans offense does not scare me whatsoever.
It's moved again.
Is it back to 3? I'm seeing 3.
It's 3. Well, I'm looking at, and you know what? I think this is what we should go if we're putting the Chargers on it. It's -114 at -2.5 now.
Okay.
Which was nuts because it was -109 at -1.5. But if you take the Chargers by a field goal, let's take it to 2.5. We'd have to do that anyways for the partner parlay.
Yeah.
So what was the other game? It was Chargers and which
so one? It's Chargers, which I even at 2.5, I still really like. The other one for me is the 49ers. Again, I'm using the phrase, and I know it's so overused in the first couple of weeks when it comes to the NFL, but overreaction. I think this is a bit of an overreaction for the Rams. The 49ers, man, they made me feel like an idiot for betting on the Steelers last week. And I really thought, I don't know if it's more or less that the Steelers aren't going to be as good as I thought, or maybe the 49ers are just that damn good. And I think they are that damn good. When you look at the Rams as well, it's Puka Nacua, great story. Tutu Atwell, awesome, great little pieces here. But even when the Rams were a wagon, a Super Bowl champion, teams that were making deep runs of the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay, owns him. I think it's been 7 games in a row that he's beaten Sean McVay and beaten him handily. With the history here, I think maybe for our partner parlay's sake, you go with a little bit of a smaller line. But this 49ers game, for me, it's in-state rival. Like, it's not like they're going to be overwhelmed. Like, there's going to be a lot of 49er fans in that stadium anyways. It's not going to be really like a away game. I love the 49ers here. I think they could really blow the doors off and beat them by double digits.
Okay, so here's a couple of the options. It has gone for, it's been 8 all week. It's at 7.5 right now. Minus 125 for 6.5. But I agree. I mean, this is maybe, telegraphing something that's coming tomorrow in our 4 best bets. I love the Niners this week as well. I think that they pound them. I mean, I still can't believe how bad Seattle was.
Yeah.
And I think Seattle will look a lot better. But, man, Patty, you nailed it. You go through the NFC West, and it's weird. The Rams always give Seattle a hard time when they're one of the few teams that historically can go into Seattle and win. And then they play the Niners, and they get absolutely massacred consistently for the most part. I mean, the Niners looked like the real deal. And I am still waiting to see. I'm holding out judgment on the Rams right now. But, man, just history, how good this Niners team looks right now. I love San Francisco. And to be honest, I trust the San Francisco 49ers a hell of a lot more than I trust the Chargers.
I'm good with that. Again, I love both those bets. So if we're going to try to put something in our parlay, I guess my vote would lean towards, let's go with the 49ers, especially if we're going to buy a point. Because even at minus 125, I love that play there. What about you, Huss? What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like Green Bay. I love the Niners pick. Dusty, you?
Yeah, Green Bay Niners sounds pretty good. I mean,
right.
there's 2 things I'm looking at. One, I mean, as I brought up Detroit the other day, it was 6. It's 4.5 now. So that line's moving in a direction that I really like. But where do you guys come out on the Dolphins getting that to 2.5? It's 2.5 at minus 122. They're on the road against the Patriots. Patriots hung somewhat tough with the Eagles last week. But, Huss, like you mentioned off the top, the Eagles just didn't seem to really have it last week, whereas the Dolphins offensively certainly did have it last week. And as long as Tua stays healthy with what he's got going on with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, man, that's going to be a tough offense to slow down. I don't care who you are, even if it is New England at home in this situation. So I don't mind the Dolphins getting the Dolphins to minus 2.5 here at minus 122. I think I like it more than riding with Detroit at home just because I'm nervous as a Lions fan on that one. So that would probably be what I would try to throw into the mix here. I also didn't mind getting the Chargers and moving that down a little bit, but I think the Dolphins at 2.5 with that offense being capable of what they're capable of, I don't mind them in that spot against the New England offense that I just simply don't think will be able to keep pace. And I think that Patriots defense is beyond the point of containing the Miami Dolphins.
I'm in on Miami. I mean, well, I had them to win the AFC East beforehand. And by the way, how about that prop? They went from plus 320 to plus 120 to win the division. And they are now the favorites ahead of the Buffalo Bills. This is a big game. They've traditionally played New England very, very tough on the road. Love what Mike McDaniel's doing with his offense right now, and he figures out a way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands, in particular Tyreek Hill. Is he going to go for another 200? Probably not. Can they win this game by a field goal? I think so. So, and by the way, it is it's minus 122 for 2.5. Yeah. So, I mean, if we want to take the Niners at 6.5 favorites, the Dolphins minus 2.5, Packers plus 1.5, we end up getting it to plus 528.
That's a great number.
Yeah.
After that.
I like
now, what we're going to need to do is everybody pay attention to when the Lock Shop Partner Parlay is up, because we're going to get a number and then a lot of people are going to bet it. It'll come down a little bit. It has been proven that the early bird gets the worm when it comes to these numbers, because often the lines will change, and it does affect those even boosted parlays that we've got. So, but yeah, if you guys are good on that, Green Bay, Miami, and San Fran, we'll take 2.5 on Miami, 6.5 on the Niners, and we'll get 1.5 on Green Bay. We put that together. send it to the powers that be, see what that number is, but it should be a good one. I won't get it to 6, but pretty close, I'm sure, when it comes out.
If this game was in December or even
different
late
feel
November,
for it, right? Exactly.
I would be like, I'd be clinching it a little bit. The fact that it is week 2, New England's going to be beautiful. It's going to be maybe a little bit chilly, but it's going to be fine. Miami has no problem walking into Foxborough, going in there and putting up big numbers. Looking at that 46.5, it's not going on the partner parlay, but it's certainly, I think it might be going on my best bet card for the weekend. 46.5. I think the Dolphins could do a lot of that damage on their own, to be honest.
Dusty, I'm going to leave it to
you got
you
a jet,
boys.
Pat. You might stick around here for a couple more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. Huss, what do you got coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy?
You know what? Lots of Jets talk. We've got pretty much the entire team back here skating right now. Young Stars heading out to Penticton. We'll be all over that. Take a look ahead to this Bomber Hamilton game and talk a little bit more about Thursday night. A lot of Vikings fans in these parts, and I think a lot of nervous Viking fans in these parts for many of the reasons we talked about in the Lock Shop. Boys, let's get it. It was a great week last week in the parlay department of the Lock Shop.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it again. And Patty, great talking to you as always, my man. Boys, have a good one. And Dusty, will catch up tomorrow when you're in Regina.
I will, buddy. We'll talk to you later. There you go. That's Huss. Winnipeg Sports Talk gets going right away. Pat, there's still more exclusives that you guys have posted over there at Coolbet. I know you mentioned the one that you've laid out. We've got the ones that we laid out for tonight's game. But I think I saw like 3 or 4 other exclusives already sitting in there, ready to go as well. Let's take a quick rip through that here before we got 2 guys and a goalie coming up. What else do we got on the board there?
Absolutely. So including mine, if you go down to the Coolbet exclusives, you'll also find the Coolbet NFL daily exclusives. We'll just run through the gauntlet here. If you're feeling that Kirk Cousins, primetime Kirk Cousins, not the old primetime Kirk Cousins, the new one, the one that wears the chain on the private jet on the way home. If you think he's going to show up, you like that. Kirk Cousins plus 2 passing TDs, 255 plus passing yards, and the Vikings to cover plus 7.5. You can get that at plus 300. Hurts so good. Jalen Hurts to record 2 plus passing TDs, 1 rushing TD.
Boy.
And the Eagles to win at plus 325. I really like that
that's
one a lot.
That's a big night for Jalen Hurts, but he's certainly capable of it. That's for sure.
I mean, and let's be honest, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder after how pedestrian he looked last week. Primetime Kirk Cousins. We're talking about the vintage primetime Kirk Cousins. Cousins to throw 1 interception. Vikings under 20.5 points, and Eagles to cover minus 6.5. That's at plus 360. I kind of like that one as well. House callers. This one's been a popular one across the board. Each and every primetime game. It's basically just 2 touchdown scores. This week, it's Justin Jefferson and Devonta Smith, both to find the end zone or more, plus 525. And then we went over mine as well, the primetime parlay.
It's a nice number on that house callers one, buddy.
I really like that one a lot. I really like that one a lot.
Yeah,
I think I've said that on pretty much all of them, but 525.
Plus 525. I think it was this morning. Everything's merging together here, but I'm pretty sure it was on the Coolbet hotline today on the Nielsen show. Justin Jefferson plus 100 for a touchdown, right? Yep. So you're mixing in Smith here and you're getting it up to plus 525. I think you have to be pretty happy with that as well. Are you in on these college football exclusives as well?
So those ones there, that was Jake put those ones together.
All right, but they're there.
We will have a couple of other ones coming up. But yeah, so take a look at those ones. Probably tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, I'll have my college parlay up. He'll have his, and I think both of us are going to put together a couple more as well. But and then we'll obviously get your guys' Lock Shop CFL parlay. We'll have some CFL exclusives as well. So
perfect.
A lot of football, a lot of pigskin, and of course, if you are a fan of collegiate football north of the border, no exclusives, but the lines are up for this week.
I was just going to say, I've already bet on the University of Alberta Golden Bears plus 7 points on the road against the Huskies.
All right.
I love it.
I'll do that.
I saw that. I was just like, oh my God, the 2-0 Golden Bears getting 7 points here. So I love that. Do you guys, are you going to see some action on is this going to be pretty popular, you think?
It has been pretty popular, to be quite honest. Full transparency, it was quite popular when we were, still in Ontario.
Yeah,
a lot of action from
OUA
the
stuff.
OUA.
Yeah,
But still, we're seeing a lot of action over the last couple of years. Like, shout out to our football odds makers who put these lines together.
Yeah, that can't be easy to do for university football in this country. Like,
there's some big lines, like at Western, I think, beat U of T a couple of weeks ago, like 81-0 or something ridiculous. So those games, so don't expect each and every single game to be up at Coolbet.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's some odds that you do want, feel free, hit myself up at P. Greggy on Twitter, or hit us up at Coolbet Canada. We'll do our best to get lines up. But for the big games, pretty much from now until the Vanier Cup, all the primetime games, the games that are, powerhouses going at it, we're going to have odds for that. But if there's a game on the board that you don't see, that you like a little action on, hit us up. We'll get our guys to try to put something up for you there.
Perfect, Patty. Good stuff, man. Maybe you or Jake pop back in on Monday here in the Lock Shop. That'd be great, man.
Beauties. Depending on how the Bills end up playing, it'll either be me or Jay.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you later. There you go. That's Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. You can find him at P. Greggy. The Lock Shop brought to you by Coolbet. Coolbet involved in all of Edmonton sports talk as our leading partner. And Coolbet.com is where you can sign up. I think I saw Savage the Plumber says, what was the bet? I liked it even as a Rams fan. You'll see it. It'll pop up in the exclusive section, I would think probably early on this afternoon, but it was the Dolphins -2.5, the Packers +1.5, and the Niners -6.5, and that'll probably get up to high +5s, maybe even into that +6 range. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of The Lock Shop, brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'll actually be connecting in from Regina, but Hustle and I will be back on The Lock Shop tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, breaking down the Thursday Nighters, setting up all of our best bets for the rest of the week in the National Football League. If you are listening online at EdmontonSportsTalk.com and our live online audio player, make sure you stick around, you on YouTube as well. You're going to be redirected over to Two Guys and a Goalie. That's going to get going right away. Two Guys and a Goalie coming up here. We'll be talking a lot of Oilers. We're continue with our top 50 players as well with myself, Cass, and is Cass here too? And Cass is here too. So Cass and Gage are both in studio here on Two Guys and a Goalie. Make sure you don't go anywhere, and that will continue right here on Edmonton Sports Talk when we return.